Hey everyone, Gavin here, and today we're going to be continuing this video series, kind of going behind the songs of Sunchaser and revisiting some of the earlier demos. And today we're actually going to take a look at Pharaoh, which for me was really a dark horse on the album. The original demo I think was only about a minute long or so, and it was definitely one of the songs that saw a lot of improvement just through a very rigorous revision process and kind of making certain parts to supplement certain purposes and just taking it kind of a baby step, so to speak. But I'm really excited to revisit some of these old demos and then kind of see what's there to find. So the first demo for Pharaoh, it looks like, was written or kind of finalized, so to speak, in April of 2016. And this was in my learning how to record and produce stage, so I'm not really expecting it to sound too hot. But if it's anything like a lot of the other earlier demos, I'm guessing the tempo is going to be quite a bit slower, because a lot of the early stuff, it was really slowed down, and in comparison now, I think it just sounds super lethargic. But yeah, let's see what this sounds like. Yep. So for a long time, Pharaoh was just those two sections, actually, and it took a little while for the rest of the song to get fleshed out. It looks like in November of 2016 is kind of when it started to take shape as to what it is now. But yeah, I was kind of expecting the tempo to be that slow, and it definitely just feels super weird listening to it when it's that kind of slow, and I know just lethargic is kind of the word that comes to mind. But let's see, all of these demos right here, I think this is actually the Cubase session that those are bounces of, so we can kind of get a better idea visually, and also if we want to isolate some things. But at this point is when it started to kind of develop its form and at least get some sense of structure and purpose to the sections. I'm hoping everything is like where it needs to be, because some like synths or something may have been moved around in the process, but we can give this a listen and see what it sounds like. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about this. Wow. Okay, yeah, I remember this part now. I completely forgot about this, but yeah, there was this acoustic break just in the middle of the song that, man, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like, there are certain things in hindsight where you're just like, what was I thinking? And that was kind of one of them. So I'm really glad that that got cut. You could kind of hear that it led into that, I don't even know what to call it, the weird, like, not chromatic, but just notes where you want them kind of section. And yeah, that got condensed in a really good way. And there was also this break. It was in the earlier demo too, the kind of like filtered guitar tone harmonic thing. I think it flows a lot better without it too. So yeah, that definitely saw some revisions that it benefited from. Wow. Yeah, man, this is just another section. Like, obviously, the production is not to a satisfying point, but just listening to the program drum parts performance wise and comparing it to what Mike added to the album, it's just such a big difference to me. Just the energetic, like, build throughout this section, especially this part. It's almost like kind of comical listening to it, where it's the like full blown snare hits instead of the kind of gradual build up with the softer hits that Mike ended up doing. That. Yeah, and really every section here. I was pretty unsure at times. I was unsure about this riff, that bit, but after everything kind of got shaped up and Mike got to do his drum parts on the album, that actually has since become one of my favorite passages on the album. I think it's just so weird, and I don't really know how to describe it, but I guess it's kind of a good thing. But yeah, we can jump back in. Let's see, I think we were here back in the main riff. Okay. Cool. Yeah, this section, man, again, just Mike. Like the second repetition of the really kind of heavy, I don't know, earth-shattering riff, so to speak, is like the thing that's on the album Mike did like first take. And it still kind of blows my mind because even trying to like play guitar along with it, I'd honestly still have trouble like counting it and then knowing when to land in the right spot. But Mike just did it like flawlessly on the first take, and I was just like, "What on earth, dude? You're a machine." But I'm gonna like just pull up the final one for reference because it's just unreal. Yeah, that bit. Okay, so in this repetition, he's going to start playing. Then he's just going to do this fill thing. I have no idea what the heck he's thinking, but he just lands right in the right spot. And it's just like the craziest thing trying to figure out playing to it. God. Yeah, so that is like beyond night and day to me. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, man, this section, the kind of chordal bit, that it's so weird hearing it without the lead line now. It actually stayed this way up until we got to the guitar tracking, Nolly and I. And it was actually his idea to throw a lead part in, and it just it's so weird hearing it without it now, because this feels so unnatural without it. So that was another just huge night and day thing. Um, yeah, but I think, this bit stayed, like there was some drum part variation, obviously, but for the most part, I think that stayed pretty similar. Yeah, but yeah, this section in particular, man, it sounds way better with the lead, I think. Um, so yeah, we can get back into the main riff. Actually, fun thing, this little guitar bit, uh, that is the only piece of audio from my demos that actually made it onto the final album. We were trying to, or not trying, we were recording the guitars, and then I was trying to explain to him kind of the idea that I had, not only that is, for this like ambient guitar thing to do, and I just played him this, and I was like, hey, could we do something like this? And he's like, oh yeah, just send it to my computer. I was like, oh sweet. So yeah, a little bit of the demo recordings actually made it on there. But yeah, other than this bit, obviously everything else got replaced. But we can finish out the song, I guess, from here. All right, man. The ending, that is, it's pretty interesting to hear this. I mean, after listening to the final thing so much, I honestly did kind of forget what the demo sounded like. And it's just such a huge difference to me. Let's see, we started playing kind of around, yeah, the last repetition of this riff. On the second half of the third repetition of the main riff, this chunk right here, a couple of the like high notes actually ended up getting changed. Not only had the idea of doing like kind of a descending run for like boo doo doo bep boo that bep that note. Yeah, so that saw a little bit of change. This section, for the most part, I think melodically stayed the same, and then obviously the string section, man. George Lever, a producer in England as well, actually ended up doing the I guess reamping of the strings, so to speak, and then also adding a lot in terms of orchestration and just part arrangement for the strings. And what he ended up doing for it just made it, again, another night and day thing. And yeah, hearing this in comparison to what he did is pretty amazing. We can actually listen to the string section on the final one for reference. It's just so much more alive to me and just so much more natural. Yeah. Yeah, so you can tell. I mean, that's such a huge difference, and being able to work with him and kind of sort out the ideas for orchestration was just like awesome. It certainly helped me learn a lot about actually programming some parts on the computer too, to get them to sound a bit more natural. So that was another huge thing to add to the song. But yeah, again, I think in terms of synth, for the most part, things stayed the same part-wise and like instrument-wise when they ended up being on the final thing. I'm sure there was, plenty of EQ work or, some processing to be done that wasn't done here. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for this demo. We can actually hop on over to some of the stems that we have for the final version of the song and just take a listen to those. Again, Mike's drum parts, just awesome to listen to. Yeah, so there's that really dynamic like build up in that earlier section. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's awesome. um, Actually, there's one very cool thing that I'm just remembering. That section, the same section Mike was doing the dynamic build-up with the snare. Um, now I had this really cool idea that I really hadn't thought of before. I'm assuming it's going to be in overdub guitars. But it's when there's the, I kind of see it visually in my head, but the guitar riff is playing the that riff. For one of the repetitions of it, Nelly had the idea of just overlaying these like guitar string scratches, and it just added this cool like percussive texture to things. Yeah, right here. So I mean that's pretty much all it is, but the riff that it's on top of is this right here. Yeah, and when I was listening to the final thing, I was picking up on something. I didn't know if it was the synths or something to do with the drums that was giving it this cool like tack 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 kind of texture. And I went back into the stems to figure out what it was, and I just completely forgot that we did that. But that was another pretty cool, unexpected buff to the song that I think did a lot. But I kind of want to see what else is in this overdub track. Oh yeah. So that's another example of using the carbon copy delay pedal in front of the amp to get that like droning guitar siren-y sound. Is really cool. Ah, there she is. Let's say we can take a listen to the lead line. Should be somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Come on. Nice. Yeah, like funny thing, recording that, it was actually the entire lead is played just on the B string, the high one obviously, on the guitar. And for some reason when we were recording it, every time I would try and slide up to, I think it's like the 18th fret of the B string, I'm not really sure. But every time I would do it, I would miss the fret recording. So that solo that's really like simple ended up taking us like 20 minutes to get right or something. It was just the craziest thing where like one of the simple things actually like stumps you a lot in the studio. So that was fun. But luckily we stuck to it and got the right take. We can take a listen to the bass too. Some low register stuff. So that's the same bass. It's the NG2 6 string, just for the clean sound. Nice. Yeah. So really, I think the parts for the song are pretty straightforward. Again, a lot of the improvement that kind of went for it over time was just the baby step revisional, just take it a piece at a time. And arrangement-wise, some things got moved around, toyed with a lot, but I think it ended up in a good spot. And interestingly enough, I said a bit earlier this was a dark horse for me. Back when it was, just the this guy right here, the 40-second long clip, it was honestly like that close to not even being on the album, I don't think. But I'm really glad that we stuck with it, developed it, and yeah, I'm pretty glad that it's on there because I think it's definitely one of the stronger tracks. But let's see, we can actually take a listen to a couple of the synths real quick. That's one thing we didn't do. Again, all the synths for the album, like 99% of them were software called Gravity by Heaviosity, which I'm a huge fan of. And it was really one of the first virtual instruments that I got to mess with. And it's cool because you can do some awesome synth stuff with it, and then they also have this really great selection of special effects kind of stuff, whether it be like ambient textures, like with Azure and Sentiment and the intro of Sunchaser 2, those ambient textures are all Gravity. And then you can also get these really cool synth sounds out of them. So it's really versatile in that sense. So I think that synth sound is kind of the go-to guitar riff layering double effect sense. So yeah, whenever it's like a singular riff and you really want to beef it up, that's kind of the go-to for this song. Yeah, so that kind of, I don't know, almost like stringy synth to the left speaker, that is Gravity as well. And then the organs for the album is coming from just the Contact factory library, which when it comes to virtual instruments outside of percussion, just the Contact library and the Gravity is all I have right now. So it's going to be from one of those two things, but the organs are Contact. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's for that really like heavy riff, sludgy kind of thing. And I think for that, I was just trying to get as like nasty of a texture as possible. Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, that unison section with the synths, I'm a big fan of those kinds of sounds. I really don't know how to describe them. I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to synths. Like I get the basics of like sawtooth and square waves, sine waves, all that stuff. But for that, it's a cool balance of something. I don't know what, but there's another organ section, just Contact. Oh, wait, where was that? That's funny. There was like, I forgot about that. There was a violin part where it was like, I don't know, the like horror film effect where it's like the tremolo on a note, like these really dissonant intervals kind of fading in and like making things really tense. So these stems actually have the old string arrangement on them for some reason, but here's the actual strings. Yeah, so that's where it kind of takes over on the album, and you can just hear the rest of it in the song by itself. But yeah, I think that about does it for Pharaoh. As you can tell, it definitely has developed a lot since it was first created back in the earliest demo days. But it's definitely become one of my favorites from the album, and I think that's pretty cool, especially when it was looking like it wasn't even going to be a contender for anything to develop into something worth keeping. But it's become one of my favorite songs to play too. I think it has a really good variety of things, whether it's the super aggressive, heavy riffs, or if you want kind of the cinematic string feel, there's that in the end, and then also the lighter kind of unison bits. I think it's got a lot to offer. So again, thank you for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for the rest of the videos coming out on the songs of Sunchaser. And if you like this song, we actually just released a playthrough of it just a few days ago. So be sure to head on over to my YouTube channel and check it out. And in the meantime, I will talk to you guys soon.